1,500 companies. A good 400 are directly or indirectly in the tourism business. And of those, maybe 30 or 40 really sort of play at the table. So you've got to engage your industry and work with them. And quite frankly, have them participate in your programs and fund your programs. So when I talk collaboration, like I'm talking the full Monty here, where it's not just high concept, it's execution, it's skin in the game, dollars and cents, the whole deal. And your community. Your community's not Disneyland. People live here. People are irritated by traffic, possibly. Tourists are bothered by tractors going down the road and they can't get from point A to point B. You have to engage your community and figure out how to share the messages of the positive value that tourism can bring, not only to the tourism business, but the tourism in general, or the tax base, or that it builds amenities and that you're better off as a community because you have more amenities as a result of the investment that positive tourism has had in your community. Andrea and I were chatting, and I say the same thing in our community. In Prince Edward County, we had an embarrassment of riches of assets. I call them under-leveraged, undervalued assets. Soup to nuts, open spaces, architecture, unspoken culture, meaning just the way of life in our community, these types of things. These are huge. You don't have to invent them, and they're authentic. And the media and people, media being one of your communication vehicles to market yourself, and people, your customers, they're dying for authenticity. They're dying for a little cafe in an old 1850s brick building, or maybe some third-generation family farm that offers some kind of agricultural experience. So I am sure you've got all the assets you need to start with, and maybe you need more to grow, but I'm highly confident that you have all the assets you need. You just maybe have to look at those assets with a different or a new lens and see what it is you can do with those. And I'm going to share the story that what we did with ours. Media. Make them your best friend. Learn their name, court them, hang out with them, inform them, bring them down. They're your best friend. We've, I don't know about mastered, but if I talk about magic formula, a key part of the magic formula is to get other people with power of influence to tell your stories for you. And I hope there's not too many people in the advertising business here, which is my background. Don't spend a whole lot of time on those blocks of ads trying to sell something to somebody. It doesn't really work that well. What works is having a well-known radio announcer, newspaper writer, television personality tell your story for you. They have more power and more reach than you could ever afford, and it's just the way to go. So I'm not sure. I don't really have magic formula nuggets number one, but the media is right up there in one of the magic formula nuggets. Okay, well, once you've decided, then it's time to move forward. So you need a plan. Our plan, I would suggest, was semi-organic. I don't think you can plan to be in the top 10 tourism destinations listed by the Toronto Star, but you can march forward with some ideas and a vision. What I can tell you, I have an interest and passion, and what brought me to Prince Edward County was actually to grow grapes to make wine. So I was a customer, if you will, of economic development and of tourism. And so I had some insight, and I understood, to a certain degree, the customers. But really, the idea I had, and this was at the beginning when the province of Ontario had a culinary tourism strategy evolving, my goal was to be up high on the list of destinations. I'll tell you a little fun story. So we couldn't get invited to the table 9 years ago because Prince Edward County was unheard of. It was not a culinary tourism destination. It was a high risk for the people that understood Niagara, you know, maybe Stratford a little bit. So we couldn't get invited to the table. And I think you know now, we're the star, we're the child prodigy of how to do it right. I'm not saying we're better, we're definitely not bigger than someone like Niagara, but we've found our magic formula, and then we applied it, and it's resulted in us achieving that. So we did have a plan, and we got to it. Really, any plan, you got to focus on your strengths. I was again in a discussion about a week or so ago, and someone was asking me about, you know, what do you do about challenges and weaknesses? Well, I ignore them. I ignore them because there's too many opportunities. So I focus on the opportunities first. There's plenty of time, and the beauty about challenges is they pop up all the time, and they get in your way as you're focusing on the opportunities. So, and maybe you've got more capacity than we have. There's never enough time to focus on the opportunities. So that's where I spend my time. And, you know, realistic lens. Look at the challenges. Figure out what they are. And basically, you know, you can't market yourself as a world-class metropolitan center like Toronto is. So that's an obvious. So you just sort of bypass that and figure, well, you're a rural area. You have water. You have heritage. You have agriculture. So that's what I'm saying. In our community, the other one was don't worry about summer. July and August were full, 85% occupancy, not the opportunity to build on. Why build on something where the gains are marginal? The goal was shoulder season. How do we build spring and fall? We're now basically, the tourism season starts in March with a maple event I'll talk a little bit about. It's not strong, but it's stronger than it was. Summer is super strong. Fall is unbelievable now. It is just packed with activity, and the season stops Jan 1. Last Saturday night, I couldn't get, I finally did, a dinner reservation on a Saturday night on February the something-teenth, 17th, whatever that was. So unheard of 10 years ago. The restaurants, well, actually, it wasn't. You couldn't get a reservation because there wasn't any restaurants, and they weren't open if we did have them because it was closed. So, I mean, it just blows me away. That's unbelievable in 10 years, and a good sign. So focus on your strengths. I mentioned before, we were already a tourism community. We were already an agricultural community. You know, agritourism wasn't a new thing 10 years ago. It isn't new now. I think we take a sort of higher value-added lens to that. And also, you know, it's not necessarily about farmers having B&Bs and having experiences. Farmers mostly want to farm, and they don't really want to do that. So that's not what I think of when I think of agritourism. By hook or by crook, lucky but insight, we had an emerging wine industry, which was a huge catalyst for us. May not be the same for you. And then we leveraged agriculture and wine and food into gastronomy, you know, the celebration of really the culture of food and life and all things meaningful, you know, whether it's a long lunch of basic local food prepared or gourmet stuff. Arts and culture was already strong in our community, so we built on that. And the lens is always value add. So how do you move tent and B&B with shared washroom down the hallway to higher value facilities? And we'll talk about that. And experiential. You want to sell, you don't want to sell a product. You don't want to sell what you're actually selling. What you want to sell is the emotion attached to the experience people have when they go do the thing that it is that they do in your community. And so I think that's really important, that you focus on the experience and the emotion, and everything else will take care of itself. In our case, our geography, when I got there, we didn't have a geographic focus. People, even though the U.S. is right across the lake and we're close to the St. Lawrence River, marketing is really expensive. It's really expensive. And in a community of 25,000 people, we don't need to conquer the world. We needed to conquer the immediate geography, which was Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal. That's 15 million people and half the nation's wealth. When we finish conquering that, then we can go out from there. People were going to Michigan on bus tours, New York State. Once you cross that border, man, that's a huge, high cost to educate the consumer and the media. We've not exhausted that market yet, and so that's our focus. Your focus would be slightly different, I would imagine, but I'm thinking Toronto would be a big part of that. You need a brand. What are you selling? What's the place? We were fortunate in that we have a geographic place. I understand you've got a brand and you're working on some branding, and I like the name and there's some tightness to it, so I have confidence that that can work really well for you. You need a brand. And a brand isn't, words and a logo. It's a picture in somebody's mind. So you need to really create a picture in somebody's mind. When I got to Prince Edward County, we had 5 names. Quinty's Isle, Corporation of the County of Prince Edward, the county, Prince Edward County. I can't remember all the names, it doesn't matter. So what I recommended was we have a very elegant name, Prince Edward